So if you find this sleep story helpful or interesting, then give it a thumbs up, leave any comments that you've got below, and if you aren't already, subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you can receive notifications of when future sleep stories go live. I have dozens and dozens of stories already on my channel that you can go and search. I also release new stories every single week, so I hope you enjoy this story.
So take a moment to close your eyes and begin to drift comfortably asleep. And as you begin to comfortably drift asleep, I'm just going to tell this guided meditation in the background. And as you listen to this guided meditation, I don't know whether you'll drift asleep faster to the sound of my voice, or perhaps to the spaces between my words. And you find yourself sitting at a beautiful oak writing desk. And you can feel that desk under your fingertips, the coolness of the wood, the texture of the wood. You can notice the items on the desk and notice a letter on that desk. And this letter arrived earlier on in the day, and you've placed it on your desk ready to open. And the letter's unusual because this letter has a wax seal on it. And as you reach over and you pick up that letter, and you feel the texture of that paper, noticing that that envelope just feels so thick and such good quality paper. And it feels much older than usual paper you receive letters on. And you carefully pop open that envelope, prizing open the envelope. And you then take out that letter. And you start to read the letter. And you realize that the letter is from a friend, someone who's been off exploring. And this letter talks about a ball that's taking place, and it's a ball taking place at the end of the month. And it's a masked ball. It's a ball where you dress up smart, but you have to wear a mask. And it says that you'll meet this friend at that ball, where they'll be giving you some information. And when the day comes, you dress up smart, you get your face mask, you head off to the ball. You arrive at this grand mansion for the ball. You can see cars pulling up outside, valets driving the cars off. As people get out of the cars and head in to the mansion, you can notice the glow coming from inside that mansion, and the way the lights are lighting up the outside. And as you get closer, so you can hear a live orchestra playing from inside the mansion. You walk up, you show the ticket that had come with the letter, and they let you through. You walk into that mansion, noticing how grand it is, the marble floors, that echo as you walk along the floor. People walking around, carrying silver trays, serving drinks, snacks. chandeliers high above your head. People dancing, sound of the orchestra. Everything looking just so civilized. And you walk into the main hall. And in the main hall, you stand off to the side, watching movement of the people, flowing of dresses, the way everyone moves so synchronized to the music. And you spy over the other side, your friend in their mask. And once they notice that you've noticed them, they start walking up a marble staircase. You head across the floor. Someone offers you a drink on the way. You take the drink off the tray. You walk along holding that drink to blend in. You reach the staircase. You begin to ascend that staircase. And as you climb the staircase, so it starts to curve around as it continues to go up higher. You look down on the ballroom below at all the people dancing. You notice the sounds fading a bit the higher you climb, noticing the large pictures on the walls up the staircase. Following that staircase all the way up to the next level, which has a balcony looking down on that hall. You see a slightly ajar door. You notice some double doors behind you with one of those doors slightly ajar. You walk over, carefully push the door open, and walk into the most beautifully carpeted room with soft lighting, fireplace crackling at the back end of the room. Such a cosy, comfortable seeming room. You see your friend standing by the fireplace, illuminated by the flickering flames of the fire. The way those flames make shadows dance on the walls. You walk over to your friend. They tell you that they've got a mission for you, that they can't manage to remain anonymous enough to go on this mission themselves. They hand you a scroll, and they say that it contains a map. And the map will lead you to some ruins, and they'd like you to go and investigate those ruins. That they've heard that there's something in the ruins, that there's still an undiscovered chamber, and they'd like you to go and retrieve what's in that chamber. And so you take that scroll and leave that room, and then leave the party. And the next day you set off on your journey to find those ruins. You follow that map. You have to board a plane travel a long distance, arrive at your destination, and set off through a forest. And you push your way through that forest, through the dense undergrowth, hearing the sounds of birds, of the animals of the forest, the sounds of leaves moving in the breeze, noticing the occasional dancing shard of light that manages to creep through those leaves. And you hack and push on through this forest until eventually you find a bit of a clearing. You decide that you need to set up camp for now. So you set up a camp in this clearing, light a campfire, get yourself comfortable in the tent. Cook yourself something to eat on the fire and take some time to relax. And as you relax, you look at that scroll, looking at where you are on that map, looking at where you're heading, and all you can tell, comparing the map on the scroll to your GPS, is that most of this area is just dense forest. But on the map it looks like that isn't the way it used to be. There used to be a large civilization here, with a boundary stretching for many miles. That boundary seemed to be able to keep the forest at bay, with many structures within this ancient city's walls. And as the sun sets, so the sky changes colour, from blue to oranges and reds, through to an inky black. And as that sky darkens, so you notice all those stars, the occasional shooting star. You relax back, you look up at the sky, you admire the beauty of those twinkling stars, that blanket of night over your head. As you lie back into the tent and drift and float comfortably asleep. And as you drift and float comfortably asleep, your body relaxes, your mind relaxes. And you begin to dream. And you dream that you're walking through a meadow on a beautiful summer's day, walking down towards a calm, gentle, wide river, running your fingers through long grass, wildflowers, noticing bees and butterflies and other insects flying among the flowers, birds, sounds of the birds, as you walk towards that river. And the closer you get to the river, the more you hear the bubbling of that river as it passes by. And you arrive at the river. You see yourself in that calm water. You can almost smell that calm water. You put your hands in the water, you splash some of that water on your face. You feel a deep sense of peace, of calm, of relaxation. And then you notice what you think are just fireflies, before having one of them come over to you. And as that gets near to you, so you start to hear its voice, and you notice that it looks like a small fairy. It looks like a really, really tiny human being with wings. With hair that's glistening and sparkling. Wings that are rapidly flapping, that look white and fuzzy. You hold your hand out. That fairy lands in your hand, and as it does, it stops flapping its wings, and you notice the greens, turquoise, blue, purple colours in the wings. The way the wings seem to reflect a rainbow of colours with the slightest movement. And this fairy tells you to follow the river, to find the lake, dive down in the lake, and you'll find a chest. Bring that chest to the surface, open the chest, and you'll find something that will help you on your journey, that will help you on this quest. And then the fairy takes off from your hand and flies away. And you don't know which direction to head. You decide to head upstream. You follow that river upstream. You can always turn back if there's nothing up here. And as you follow that river upstream, so you notice the way it seems to get a bit rougher. You start to walk slightly uphill. You can notice that river starts to have some rapids in it. And the river curves around and heads in to a forest. And you follow that river into the forest. You walk along the edge of the river, along the rocks by the river. And eventually, you notice that river comes out in a vast lake. And you can see that way beyond the lake is the other side of the river, and that side of the river way over there in the distance heads off towards the mountains, over on the horizon. And you walk around that lake, and the tree line opens up slightly. And as you walk around the lake, so you notice that water becomes calmer and calmer the further away from the river mouth that you go. And you walk around that lake until you reach a point where that lake almost looks like a mirror. And you know you have to go out towards the centre of this lake. And you see a fallen down tree, and notice that its trunk has broken into a few pieces. You take one of those pieces, drag it to the water's edge. You climb on that trunk, pushing yourself off from the water's edge, and paddling with your hands out into the water, resting on that trunk, resting your belly, your chest down on that trunk, keeping your centre of gravity low, keeping yourself balanced. As you swim out towards the centre of the lake. And when you're near the centre, you're surprised at how clear this water is, that the water's so still that you can see all the way down to the bottom. And it's difficult to judge the distance down to the bottom. You get into the water. You take a deep breath. And you dive down under that water, noticing as you dive the sounds of bubbles, the changing sounds around you, the more muffled, muted sounds of being underwater. That being underwater is almost like time slowing right down, helping to deepen your sense of relaxation, feeling your body slowing right down, feeling so much calmer under the water as you swim down towards that chest. You then lift that chest up, push off the bottom, start swimming up towards the surface, noticing the way the sunlight shines through the water, dances in the water. As you swim to the surface, pull that chest over to the log. Hold on to the log. Lift that chest up, rest it on the log. And while holding the log with one hand, the chest with the other, resting on that log, you kick yourself over to the shore. You swim over to the shore, splashing your way over. And when you're at the shore, you take that chest up onto the shoreline. You notice how well sealed that chest is. And the fairy had said you needed to look inside the chest. So you break the locks on the chest with a rock. You open that chest, hearing the creaking of the hinges, and inside you see a stone tablet. And on that stone tablet you can see writing, and you can understand that writing. The writing talks of old civilizations and old secrets. And you realize that somehow here in your dream you've uncovered a clue that can help you to find what it is you're looking for. And the next morning you awaken and you continue to search, but now you have an idea of exactly where it is you're searching. And after some time pushing through dense forest, you notice in the ground just lumps and bumps that don't seem so natural. On the one hand, it looks natural, just like bits of rock on the ground, but in context with this being a forest, it looks more like the forest has grown over something. And so you explore a bit more, and you realize that these are ruins, and you find your way to the ruins that you're after. And you can't see anything here, just a slight bit of fallen down wall that's overgrown by trees and other plants and mosses. And you walk around inside that ruin. Then you notice that at certain points there's a difference in the sound of your footsteps, and you suspect that beneath you is perhaps a secret chamber, maybe the chamber that's undiscovered. And so you clear off the moss, you remove vines, you clear some of that plant life. And you find what looks like a stone door, just almost like a stone slab on the ground, but it looks like it's blocking a passageway. And you carefully lift that up, push that up, and tip it back out the way as it slams down with a crash, revealing some steps down to an underground chamber. And you follow those steps down into that underground chamber, noticing that slight draft sound, the gentle hum of some wind blowing through the chamber, the slight echo, the coolness down here. As you explore, and then after a while you find a room, and in this room, off the chamber, is a pool of water, an incredibly still pool of water. And as you walk into that pool of water, so you notice blue glowing light with each footstep you take, as if you're pushing through something that's in the water that creates blue glow as the water's disturbed, that was creating a faint blue glow within this chamber, within this room. And once the water gets too deep to stand up in, you push off the bottom and start gently swimming a little further out into this pool of water, before diving down towards a chest you can see on the bottom. And you take that chest, you put it up to the surface, You pull it over towards the side of the pool. You walk out of that pool. Place that chest down at the side. You open that, and inside you see what looks almost like a crystal ball, with some slight milkiness to it. And you pick that up out of the chest, hold it in your hands, and you notice a certain warmth to that. And then light and images start emanating out from that ball, almost like projectors projecting from that ball. And they project towards the walls, and you can see around the walls what looks like movies of the past, the present, the future. And while you're holding it, and you're seeing these different movies playing all around you, hearing those movies playing around those walls, you start thinking about specific events, specific bits of information, and you notice that those movies start to change, as if somehow while you're holding it, your thoughts control it, and it starts projecting movies of those events. You think about the friend who gave you that map, and while you think about them, you suddenly see them projected on the wall in front of you. And you see them as you imagine that they are right now. You think about yourself and where you are, and then you see yourself projected, as if there's a camera somewhere up over your shoulder looking down on you, looking up at the wall at the projection. And you realize that somehow this orb, this crystal ball, seems to have the ability to show scenes of the past, the present, and the future. And you decide that there's too great responsibility for this, that you can't take this with you, that you'll have to just say that you couldn't find it. But you decide to remove it from this chamber. You know that you could see things, perhaps, that are bad that are going to happen, that you might be able to stop. But you also know that the power of being able to see the past, the present, or the future might make you start to misuse that power and give in to temptations. And you don't want anyone else to do that either. So you take that out of the chamber. You find your way out of the ruins. And as you get out of the ruins, so you notice the sun's been setting. And you sit down in the forest, on a log on the ground. You hold that orb in your hands. And you know that you're going to have to hide this somewhere, so that no one else will find it, at least not in the near future. Because you're worried about what they might do with it. And so you decide before hiding it that you want to know how this came to be. And you start thinking about that, and then you see different scenes flashing up around you of the ancient civilization, flashing up around the wood of the trees in this forest. showing that ancient civilization, showing this area as it once was. And you see them performing magic rituals. You see them seeming to be far more advanced than you'd imagine that they would be. You see the creation of this orb. You see through to this orb being in that chamber, and that chamber being designed specifically as a place to be able to go and sit and view the past, the present, and the future. And that there was always someone in charge for many generations whose role was to come into this chamber regularly. And over the generations, people in this civilization had forgotten about the creation of this orb, and so only those who were allowed in the chamber knew how they were getting their foresight, their knowledge. And you notice that eventually there was a power-hungry person who tried to use it to create increased riches, and they saw what they were looking for, they saw what they wanted to see, they saw themselves getting increased wealth, becoming richer and richer, they saw how to achieve that. But what they didn't focus on and didn't see, because they were too busy looking for what they wanted, was that what came after getting riches from the land, from the people, and focusing solely on themselves, was the destruction and the downfall of this civilization through that greed. And then after they'd gone, no one visited this chamber again. The civilization wiped itself out. And then nature reclaimed this area. And the civilization just drifted into memory, became a myth. And you know that this is what would be likely to happen if this got out again. That even you might try to just do some good, just use it to help people, and yet your desire to keep helping and to keep changing what you see and altering things and improving things could lead to that desire being fulfilled for your benefit to want to make the change rather than the benefit of others. And so you start viewing different possible futures where this orb makes it out of this forest, and futures where this orb doesn't. And you think about seeing a future where this orb doesn't lead to any negativity, and what you see is yourself going to a large lake, travelling out into that lake, and dropping that orb in the chest into the centre of that large lake. And you don't know what happens way off in the future, but you know that in what you've seen, that orb doesn't have any negative impact. You see that if you just put the orb back where you found it, someone else will come searching, and eventually someone with greed as their motivation will find it. And so you set up camp, set up your campfire, sit by that crackling campfire, having the chest open, just gazing at that orb in the chest, knowing this is the last time you'll see it, and that you can never really speak of it again. And so you then close that chest, settle down for the night in the tent, and drift and float asleep. And the next day you trek through the forest, deeper and deeper into the forest, trekking to that large lake. You travel out on a boat into the middle of that large lake. You inflate a dinghy you've got with you. You travel out into the middle of that large lake. You take the orb in that chest. You hold it with the base of that chest just touching the water as the water reaches up, grasping hold of the chest. You hold it for a moment, thinking about what you're about to do, and then let go of both sides as it plops through the water, and you watch as it descends and sinks through that water, deeper and deeper until it's out of sight, still sinking and descending deeper and deeper in this lake. And you rest silently for a moment, thinking about what you've done, just breathing for a moment before heading back to the shore. You find your way back. You head back home. You inform your friend that you found the ruins. You inform your friend that there's nothing in there. You don't lie to them. You just don't tell them that there was something in there. You just tell them that you've opened the ruins, you found the chamber, you found your way in, and there isn't anything in there. And your friend who hunts for treasures is used to accepting that sometimes you go on a journey, you go on a quest, and what you hope to find at the destination isn't there. You have to just enjoy the quest, enjoy the journey. And then move on to the next one, not dwell on the last. They didn't know that what was in there was that orb. They just knew it was something that was highly valued, that related to an ancient civilization. And that night, you relaxed and drifted comfortably asleep. As you did, so you started dreaming about walking along the side of a river, thinking that you see fireflies, and then one comes over and you realise it's a fairy. And you feel that sense of déjà vu as that fairy lands in your hand and tells you that you did the right thing. Before flying off out of your hand, joining the rest of those small fairies. As you rested by that river, listening to it gently trickle past, as you drifted deeper and more relaxed asleep.